Hey bag makers, today I'm going to be talking about command hooks for bottles, Summer Sampler 2020, some cross stitch that I've been working on lately, new fabrics that I've added to my stash. The book review will be for Spruce, a step-by-step guide to upholstery. I'll be giving you a tour of my brand new studio, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Sewcial Sunday, my weekly sewing chat. Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Welcome to Sewcial Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me. I see Marlene is watching from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Nancy from Indiana, and Dee Dee from South Australia. So welcome everyone, whether you're watching live or later on during the week, the recording of the show. I have a bunch of things to talk to you about, and I'll also be giving you a tour of my new studio, so I'm very excited about that. First things first, I wanted to let you know that Bronwyn, who tends to social media, will be now taking over the newsletter. I've admitted that I've dropped the ball, certainly with the newsletter. I checked the other day and I hadn't sent one since March when quarantine started. So Bronwyn's going to be taking that over. She's got some fun things planned, like monthly contests, and she'll be keeping you certainly much better up to date than I will be, so look for that in your email inbox this week. And then Bronwyn will be joining me live on the show next Sunday to discuss some goings on that will be happening in the world of Sew Sweetness. So before I get started, just about everything that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday are things that I've purchased myself, so these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the notions, books, fabrics, or projects that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So this week's notion of the week, I've been saving for a couple of months just because I've collected quite a stack of notions down in the basement. Christina suggested this product in the Facebook group a couple of months ago, and I thought it was a fantastic idea, so I purchased it. It is the command hooks for bottles. Many of you are probably familiar with command strips or command hooks, those handy little things that allow you to hang pictures, paintings, stockings over the holidays, whatever you want, and then remove them when you're done, or you need to move the picture or painting or whatnot. So I'm going to have Danny switch over to the overhead camera so that I can share with you this project. It's simple enough. Two of the hooks come in the package. Obviously I took one out already. And the hooks come with everything that you need to hang a bottle on your wall. So I wanted to hang this best press right by my ironing board. I was keeping it on my desk, but across the room, so I would always have to go run and grab it whenever I needed it. So the hook, just so I can show you on the camera, the bottle just hangs on the hook. It can hold up to 2.5 pounds or a 32 fluid ounce bottle of water, and it comes with the strips that get stuck to the back. So the red strips, you separate them and you just stick the side with the red strips to the back, both of the strips, and then the opposite side is clearly marked wall, and then you just need to press the hook to your wall, a clean wall, for 30 seconds, let it adhere for an hour, and then you can go ahead and hang your hooks on the wall. So I took a photo before the show of the bottle that I placed on my wall. Danny's going to put the photo on the screen really quick. And very simple, as you can see, there's my bottle of Best Press on the wall, nice and handy. And then if I ever decide to take that hook down or move it to a different place, then I can just remove those little tabs at the bottom and it'll come right off the wall. So thank you to Christina for recommending this. It's the little things, but certainly helpful with sewing room organization. So I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments, do you keep a spray bottle by your ironing board? Perhaps you keep a spray bottle with just plain water. When I used to teach in person, I remember a few ladies recommending a mixture of vodka and water for spraying fabric or starching fabric, so I thought that was rather interesting. I've tried several brands of spray starch in the past, or spray alternative starch. Flatter spray I highly recommend. They have lots of different scents or unscented, and also the Best Press. So Best Press is what I have right now. I ran out of my flatter spray and thought I'd try the Best Press for a little while to see how I liked it. So let me know in the comments what your favorite go-to spray or spray bottle type that you keep by your ironing board is. So I'm still working on my Summer Sampler 2020. If you've been following along, I got a week behind, but I caught right back up. I've got my blocks 8 and 9 that I wanted to share with you. I thought I was almost done. I thought it was only 12 blocks long. Someone on social media reminded me that there's actually 16 blocks, so I'm only about halfway done. So a little bit more left to the Summer Sampler, certainly. The link is in the description. If you're interested in joining late, you'll receive all of the blocks received up until this point, and then going forward, the blocks come out once a week. So it's a nice little pick me up for Monday morning. The blocks usually get emailed out late Sunday night or early Monday morning, and when I wake up on Monday morning, except for last week, I generally like to get cracking on that block right away before I start my work day. So what else? Oh, my cross stitch. I wanted to share, I finished my zebra cross stitch by Awesome Pattern Studio. I had a lot of fun making this. I washed it, dried it, it's ready to hang on the wall. I'm not sure what type of clip or what I should use to hang it on the wall. I didn't want to leave it in the hoop. Maybe those command strips, I'm not sure. If you're into cross stitch, let me know what you use to hang it on the wall. I prefer just to keep it in the hoop. I'm almost done with my, this past week was sort of a mental health week. So I turned to my cross stitch for helping me get through the week. So I almost finished a second project. This is by the same design company. It's a duck. I just have a little bit more in the tail feathers to finish, but this was certainly a shorter project because the duck's head, obviously there's a lot of negative space here, but I'll be excited to finish that one. That one will be going up on the wall as well. New fabrics, let's just jump in right into the new fabrics that I've added to my stash. I'll have Danny switch to the overhead camera for this. All right, so I purchased a couple of fabrics by the designer Charlie Harper. He's an illustrator, and I thought of my brother James when I saw this fabric. I'm not sure, just because of the type of fabric, all the squares, I'm not sure which project will be best for this, but I picked it up. He's an avid fisherman. And then I also liked this other Charlie Harper print of loons with their babies. I'm not sure if the color is showing up appropriately on camera, but it's a really nice darker teal background fabric. So I really liked the color and the design of the loons. And then I picked up a couple from Alexander Henry. Let me open this one out. This one was, I think the title of this fabric is Wish You Were Here. Again, I linked to all of these in the description. It's kind of postcards of different locations around the world. Thought it would be really fun for some sort of a travel bag. And then this last fabric that I picked up is actually a canvas fabric. It's sort of a cream background with a black print, and the print is called Sophia. I remember seeing it a few years ago. For some reason, I never purchased any, but I saw it online recently and I thought, well, now's the time. So as you can see by my hands, the prints are super large, so you'd need a really big bag to use up for this print. But again, it's canvas. It has a nice feel to it. It's not stiff or anything like that. So I'll see what I'll make with this one. And then we've added some new faux leathers to the shop, and I wanted to show you on camera because the colors are pretty cool. Let's see which ones we're getting to first. Okay. This one's called Midnight Blue. Some of them have a slight metallic look to them, or feel just slight. They're certainly not matte. This one we decided to call Pale Pink. My cousin Adam, who works for us, actually he named all the new colors. So he thought, actually not Pale Pink, Perfect Pink. He's like, this is what I think would be a perfect pink. So we went with that name. This one's Mallard Green. This one's a really pretty deep green color. What else? We have Rust here. And I threw in Lucky Penny just so you could see the difference from the rust on top with the Lucky Penny. They're both slightly metallic looking. And then 2 more new colors. One is graphite gray. This one's really cool. And then Adam named this one banana yellow. So this one's really awesome. I love it. It has a really nice sheen to it. So new faux leathers, we've got those listed in the shop in case you're interested in any of those. And I have another question for you. Let me know in the comments. Well, what's the best way to start the day? When I was putting together my outline, I thought, I wonder if a lot of people are going to say coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. I think my favorite way to start the day, I know it sounds really crazy, but when I wake up in the morning, usually I wake up around 5:30 or so, I check on my bearded dragon because a lot of times she wants to come out before her lights turn on. Her lights are on a 12-hour timer, so they turn on at 6:30 in the morning and turn off at 6:30 at night. But sometimes she wakes up before the lights come on, so I check on her first. Then I come downstairs, turn on my computer. I like to answer emails, and I feel like that helps me wake up. Again, I know that sounds kind of odd, starting to work first thing in the morning, but it works for me, and I don't know, I kind of look forward to getting that part taken care of first thing in the morning. All right, so the book review for this week is rather a large, it almost feels like a textbook to me, but it's called Spruce, a step-by-step guide to upholstery. I've had this book in my stash for quite some time, realized that I've never talked about it on Sewcial Sunday, so I thought, why don't we talk about it today? So Danny's gonna switch to the overhead camera. It's a hardcover book, about 400 pages, so very lengthy. There must be hundreds of step photos in this book, so if you're interested in upholstering some sort of furniture or learning how to do it yourself, this would be the book. So the first part of the book is different illustrated examples of types of furniture, and then as you can see, they're multicolored. Each particular portion of the furniture is reflected in the book, somewhere in the book, and the color of that portion matches where you can find it in the book. So if you'd like some sort of footstool like this, the top of it you can find pages 82 to 101, something like that. So I thought it was a really great option to get everything taken care of so you can clearly find it. This is an example of the author's house, how she started with an empty room and just gradually started adding upholstered pieces, just kind of to give you some sort of inspiration for how you can use your upholstery to bring the room together. So like I said, the book is full with hundreds of step-by-step photos, and this is basically just an example. The book walks you through all sorts of things like measuring the chair, because obviously every chair is going to be different. There's no such thing as pattern pieces in this book, but they do show you how to do proper measurements and also how to estimate fabric yardage if you'll need to be purchasing new fabric for whatever you're upholstering. I'm just going to flip through a few of the sections that I thought were interesting. Hand sewing coil springs to webbing. So basically starting with just the skeleton of the chair and then fixing it before you add your own personalized fabric. So this is a reflection of the step-by-step photos. As you can see, very thorough. Each step is represented by a photograph. I thought it was extremely clear to understand. And I like that so many different types of chairs and furniture are represented. Even going through making cording for the chair. This is double cord. How to apply it to the chair, making slip covers for furniture. And again, these are all represented with step photos. So very clear to understand. I'm just going to flip through a few more pages that I had bookmarked in this. So here's just some examples of different styles of fabrics that can be added to the chair. As you can see, some are just solid colors, some are more detailed than others, some are large scale prints, so depending on what you enjoy. And here's what I mentioned previously, how to measure for fabric to get the correct fabric requirements for how much you'll need for your project. I just wanted to flip through a few other examples of types of furniture represented. As you can see, it's not just standard chairs, but ottomans. As you can see, some of the projects are tufted, and working with leather, adding buttons, and doing different types of stitching on your chair. So like I said, this book is massive. It's 400 pages, and if you're interested in upholstering, learning how to do it. This is a really great reference tool, and it's very clear by all the photos that they've included, and I can see how it would be super helpful. So hope you enjoyed that. Danny's favorite part of the Sunday show, when he's not on the show at least, we'd like to invite all of the bag makers to stand proud. Let us know that you're in the, let us know in the comments that you're part of the Sew Sweetness Squad. We're so happy that you're here, and you really inspire me every day to keep going. I look forward to Sunday mornings when I wake up and work on my outlines for the show and the content for the show. So thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you. All right, let's get over to the studio tour. I promised, it seems like it's been a couple months now, but I did promise a studio tour. We shot this on my cell phone yesterday just so that we could keep all the cameras where they are. Nothing much for Danny to edit, but he did a good job, at least filming from the handheld cell phone. So hope you enjoy this tour of my new studio. Hey bag makers, today I'm going to be giving you a tour of my studio, showing you all of the nooks and crannies, and I hope you enjoy. So as you can see, where I'm standing right now is where you see me on Sewcial Sunday when we're doing our live show. I have a screen directly in front of me so that I can see, as Danny puts all of your questions and comments up on the screen, I can read them out. There's a camera right directly in front of me, and there's also a camera looking down so we can get a nice overhead shot. So when I'm doing my book reviews or in the step videos, I can show you overhead shots. And then right over here is my sewing machine. So this is the new positioning I used to have in our old house, the overhead shots and the sewing machine at two different places, so I was constantly moving my chair around, but it works great that the sewing machine is right next to the overhead shots, less moving around. And also I started sewing standing up, so having the sewing machine at this counter height is really great, and I'm working on my posture, so far so good. I've got on the two bookshelves behind me, these are Billy bookcases from IKEA. I've got samples of bags, and I also use the bottom shelves to hold books and patterns. So I try to organize the books by sewing genre, so garment books, general sewing books, quilt books on the bottom. I've got a cabinet with two rolling doors, and I keep random things inside, so cross-stitch supplies, cam snaps, basically odds and ends I'm keeping in here for now. I might organize it a little bit better in future, but for now it keeps all of the random mess hidden in the sewing room. Down here on this bookshelf, I've got sewing patterns that I've purchased, so a lot of garment patterns, quilt patterns on the bottom, and just some general sewing patterns mixed in with that. Over here I've got general sewing machines, cover stitch, serger. Here's my Cricut maker. I may decide to move it to a different position, but for now I'm keeping it over here. I've got a Juki cover stitch machine for garment sewing. Juki serger, this is also for garment sewing. And then over here, this is a newer machine to me. This is a Grommets 6700P. I purchased this machine since my regular sewing machine is straight stitch only. I wanted to have the option for other stitches like decorative stitches, buttonholes, stretch stitch. So that's what this machine is for, and I've got the table set up for it. The drawers are Alex drawers from IKEA, and I've got 4 drawers with thread. I used spice organizers to hold the threads, and then I've got the bobbins attached to the spool so that I can easily find the bobbin color that I need. The next drawer is general sewing machine parts for all of my machines, tools, bobbins, CDs, manuals, basically everything that came with the machines. The next drawer is acrylic templates and rulers. And then the bottom drawer is extra notions, so extra friction pens, Wonder Under tape, pins, elastic. Most of the notions are in this drawer. I've got 2 more drawers with thread, again organized in color order. As you can see, I have some that are 40 weight thread, which is the green spools, and some that are 50 weight thread, which is the orange spools. The 40 weight thread is thicker than the 50 weight. This drawer, I've got mesh and some zippers by the yard. I've also got Renaissance ribbons, some lace zippers, some coin purse frames. And then the bottom drawer is some extras like my rivet press items. I've got some Odi Coat, numbered pins. And then in the far left-hand corner is my computer and desk area. So I've got wonder clips in a few areas of my desk, tools that I use very often, my turning tool, screwdriver, Clover Choco, friction pens, regular pens, speakers. Sometimes I listen to Spotify when I'm answering emails or editing patterns. And I've got lots of, as you can see, lots of scissors and rotary cutters in that container in the end. I spend a lot of time at the desk, and so I recently reviewed my saddle seat chair. I'm really trying to work on my posture, so the saddle seat chair in combination with this posture pleaser, I strap that to my back for added assistance with my posture. And then as you can see, my ironing board is directly next to the computer. This is the Singer Expert Finish iron. I've had this since 2013. And I also have a cordless iron that I use for different areas of the room, but if I'm at the ironing board, I'm using this particular iron. So let's walk over to this area over here. I've got a table set up with my embroidery machine, and then I also use this area to photograph my set photos. So when I'm working on the pattern, the color photos that are in the pattern, this is the area that is designated for working on that. We recently got some new lighting because I like to have really bright shots for my set photos without a lot of extra shadows. I have a piece of white vinyl laid down on the table so that I can get the white background. And then as you can see, I've got some pattern pieces for a bag that I'm working on that I need to photograph the steps for. I've got my camera ready. You'll notice my rivet press in the corner. I like to have things that I'm using very often out in the opens. At our old house, I was constantly, because it was so small, I was constantly dragging things out, putting them away, and it was often the hassle of having to rearrange things all the time and put things away. I felt it was slowing me down a little bit in regards to my process. So here's Danny's smaller portion of the room. The printer we use for printing out shipping labels and invoices, Danny's computer. As you probably guessed, Danny's really into technology, so he's got some high-tech looking stuff in his area. This is what it looks like from his end during our live shows when we're filming live, when he's trying to put questions up on the screen and comments. So behind the scenes, this is what it looks like. You may have noticed that I don't have any fabric stored in this room. I decided when we moved into this house to keep the fabric in the basement, and after living here for a couple of months, I decided that it was a good choice leaving the fabric in the basement. The biggest mess for me comes from choosing fabrics and trying to put different combinations together, and so definitely the fabric being kept down there keeps my workspace cleaner, because after I've finished choosing fabrics for a project, whether it's a bag or a quilt, I won't necessarily need to clean up my mess immediately, so it's downstairs hidden in an unfinished area of the basement, which suits me fine. Once in a while I'll go down and straighten up, not very often, but it's good because then I can keep the actual work area nice and neat. So I hope you've enjoyed this view of my new studio. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Wow, I'm marveling at that clean room. Danny was busy vacuuming this room yesterday, and we'll see how long it can stay clean. So hope you enjoyed that video. I'm going to be answering some questions live in just a minute. So if you have a question for me, either a bag making related question about a notion or tool, general sewing question, go ahead and type your question in the comments right now wherever you watch this video, either on Facebook or YouTube. Make sure you're logged into your account first before you try to type in your comments. I also wanted to announce the winner of last week's giveaway, and that winner is Nancy Kuba. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Kuba. Congratulations to you, Nancy. Whenever you get a chance, feel free to email me. My email is sarah@sewsweetness.com, Sarah with no H, and then we'll get you set up with your prize. Congratulations to you again. All right, Danny, take it away with the questions. All right, Donna says, hello from Arizona. Sarah, did you attend a special school for your sewing education? That's a really great question, and the answer is no. I'm basically self-taught. I did go to college in Chicago for advertising. I took a lot of art classes. I went to North Park in Chicago, which was a really small school. So I guess I just, when my kids were babies, when they were very little, I dabbled in sewing for fun, and it just sort of, before long, it had snowballed into some sort of business, which is what Sew Sweetness is today. Where can I purchase the fish fabric, please? Fish fabric. Danny, did I show fish fabric?
Yeah, that technical sketch, like gray looking.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Where has my mind gone? There's a link in the description to this Charlie Harper fabric. It's from the fabric line called Lake House, and you can find that link in the description. There's a link in tonight's show, wherever you watch the show, either Facebook or YouTube. Why are you sewing standing up? Great question. I'm trying to, well, the main reason is because last year my horseback riding instructor recommended I try sewing standing up because I have, not only in real life do I have bad posture, but in horseback riding I also have not ideal posture. And she thought rather than being hunched over a sewing machine, if I tried sewing standing up, it would help me for horseback riding and also just general posture. So when we moved into our new house and got everything situated, I decided to sew standing up, and so far it works just fine. And I have other friends that sew standing up, so it didn't sound all that crazy when my riding instructor mentioned it to me. So I'm going to try sticking with it for a while. Certainly when we're shooting step videos, I'll be standing up because that's the location we have for the sewing machine. But I do have my sit-down area, which you saw in the video for the serger and the cover stitch and so on. I will need to use chairs for those because those are regular desk height. Jan says, when you sew standing up, are you balancing on one leg? I've tried a couple of times and had a hard time not falling down. I guess I never really thought about it. I haven't had an issue with balance, but I suppose you could get a little stool just in case behind you if you are. I'm certainly not an expert on it, but it sounds pretty reasonable to me to have a stool just for backup behind you. Gail says, is the rolling door cabinet IKEA? It is. I don't remember the official title. Danny, do you remember?
I believe it's for a TV entertainment stand or something.
Danny says it's an IKEA stand, the one behind me. It's for it's
Media or something.
a media or television stand. I apologize if I don't recall the model number, but if you go on the IKEA website and look for TV stands or media stands, I'm sure something will come up. Nancy says, I'm trying to decide on the best rivet press, any ideas, and also where to purchase. So I purchased mine from Minkus Margot on Etsy. I got it some years ago. They do still have a shop. I'm not sure if they're on vacation break right now. Some members of the Sew Sweetness Facebook group have Gold Star, the rivet presses from Gold Star Press. I'm not aware of different alternatives besides just general rivet presses, but if anyone has a different press from somewhere else that they recommend, let us know in the comments, and Danny will, if he comes across any, he'll try to put them on the screen. Debbie says, what are your pedals resting on? That's a great question. I have the Steady Betty. They're basically foam covered wooden boards, and I have two different sizes. You might have noticed one of my sewing machines has a larger pedal, and that's on a larger Steady Betty, and all the rest have the smaller boards. I like them because the foam doesn't move. It creates friction on the floor, and it pretty much stays put, and the pedal also stays put on top of the board. So again, Steady Betty. Kristen says, what made you choose the Janome instead of a Juki with those features? So my basic reason for picking up that extra Janome is I wanted a machine that was either all metal or almost all metal, because my Jukis are metal sewing machines, and that was pretty much the only sewing machine that I found that was computerized that was mostly metal. So the entire body is metal except for, I believe, that gray plate on the front. That was plastic, but the rest of the body was metal, and it's heavy like my Jukis are heavy. Gwenna says, did you paint those? I did not paint any of the wall art, even behind me. I think this was from Society 6. I don't remember the designer. The horse wall art was all from Etsy, and Violet did paint one thing, that canvas with the blue background. She painted
2 things behind the...
2 things. Oh, Violet, sorry, thanks Danny. Violet painted 2 things. She painted a picture of Smudge. That's the horse that I lease. And then she painted a canvas behind my ironing board that says, she wrote in her decorative handwriting, my soul is filled with a needle and thread. So yeah, 2 things. Thanks, Danny. Kathleen says, I'm sorry, did you say the gray drawer units were from IKEA? Yes, they're actually navy blue. They're from IKEA, and they're from the Alex line. Besides navy blue, they had other colors, white, black, I'm sure brown, a range of colors. I really like the drawers. They're nice and smooth. And those spice drawer organizers that I had my thread on, those were width adjustable, and those were plastic, and they were from IKEA. Michelle says, Danny, can Sarah do a video on how she uses her Cricut in bag making? I should be able to do that soon. Michelle Graham, who, if you're a member of our Facebook group, you're familiar with Michelle. Michelle's been working on SVGs lately, so I'm sure we can put something together, because she's getting more files ready for you all, working on some of the Free Sew Sweetness projects. Smaller projects like the Windsor pouch. She finished the persimmon the other day. As soon as I'm able to, I'll get those up on the website so that you can have access to them. Lori says, I almost bought that holder for pens, etc. Looks great. Does it work well? I think you're talking about the white ceramic holders. I got those from Amazon, and I don't remember what they were. They were just ceramic. They might have been toothbrush holders. They might have been pencil holders. I'm not sure. I got them a few years ago. I like them, but I found that they were, I guess I just have an outrageous number of pens, pencils, marking tools, because I started off with 1, then I added a second, now I have 3, and they're jam-packed full. So they do work well if you have less things, or maybe if you have them sorted a little bit better than I do, maybe friction pens in one with chalk markers, something like that. I have a hard time organizing all of my scissors. You saw my scissors on the desk. I have so many of them. I have even more that are not in the sewing room. So many scissors in the house. Anyway, Pat says, do you find that you work better in a larger area? It certainly annoys me less. Our previous space was 11, I believe it was 11 feet by 11 feet. Danny and I were still in the previous space, and when we filmed videos, it was like I was constantly stepping around piles of things, and the fabric was in the room in the previous space, so it was like fabric everywhere, partially completed projects everywhere, and now at least I can have a little bit of breathing room, so it's definitely a bunch better than the previous space, but we made it work before. It was fine. Anne says, have you ever considered joining a creative place keeping space for makers? I've read about such things online, and they sounded really amazing, but I'm not sure if I'm frugal or what, or it's just simpler just coming downstairs and starting working rather than driving somewhere. I guess it would be nice. I'd certainly give it a try. I can say that at least. Stacy says, could you please show me the Coalition bag inside and out, the black and the gray bag? Yes, I can. There might be, let's see, there might be some bubble wrap inside, because sometimes with the bags I'm storing in the basement or on the bookshelf, yeah, there is. I tend to keep bubble wrap in them just so they stay nice, because they're empty. All right, so okay, so there's, all right, this is a big one. This is the Coalition bag comes in a handbag size and a duffel size. This is the duffel size, so it's got pockets on either end, a removable adjustable strap, so if you just like to use the handles on the front and back. And it has the same side pockets on the inside, so I'm not sure how well I can make those come up on the video, but here's that same side pocket that I showed you on the outside of the bag. So there's one on either side. Those are the only 2 pockets on the inside, and there's a false bottom, which is, in this particular false bottom, I have, it's fabric covered with corrugated plastic on the inside. And I do have a free video on my YouTube channel, sorry about that on the screen, a free video on my YouTube channel for making a false bottom in case you're interested in adding that to any bag. And basically the false bottom helps because of it's a larger bag, and I imagine lots of clothes or other gym items or whatever, what have you, going on the inside. And rather than the bottom of the bag be bowed down under the weight of the items, the false bottom keeps like a nice straight flat bottom. So I've had a few people email lately asking about this bag for a prospective either ballet or dance bag, and I think Bronwyn has made one for her daughter. I think it was for cheerleading items, but anyway, this would be great for either gym, school, dance, anything like that. Mary says, hi Sarah, could you talk about the product Odi Coat? Good news, I actually have a free video on my YouTube channel right now. If you go to the So Sweetness channel and just type in Odi Coat, that video should pop up and I'll show you how to apply it, what I think about it. It's a fantastic product. However, I would suggest applying it to your fabric, perhaps rough cutting your pieces a little bit larger than you'll need. Because the Odi Coat kind of potentially can shrink down the fabric a little bit. So just cut your pieces a little bit bigger, apply the Odi Coat, let it dry properly, and then you can cut to your final size pieces. Barbara says, how have you solved the lighting in your basement so that you can see the colors for auditioning fabric? That's a great question. We do have a couple of lights in the basement, but it is kind of dim in some areas. So I generally go down there, pick a few fabric choices that I'm thinking of, and then I bring them up here in the studio so that I can, you probably saw the windows. We have some great natural light in here, and then I take a second look at the fabric. So I usually bring several choices, and then I look at my pattern pieces, see what will fit with the project, maybe audition some solids to go with the fabric. So definitely I usually bring it upstairs, and then I bring the fabric down, and lately I've been just kind of leaving the fabric on the floor. It's waiting to be organized back on the shelves, but I'll get to it eventually. Hope says, how do you set your machine to stand up? So this is a counter height tabletop, so I didn't need to do anything extra. I was looking the other day for some sort of risers for my keyboard in case I wanted to stand up at the computer also. I'm not sure if I'll do that, but I was just considering it. I'm not sure if the risers will also work for a sewing machine. I don't actually have one in person or investigated that yet, but I guess it might be worth taking a look if you'd like to raise your sewing machine up a little bit higher. Again, I'm not sure about that, depending on the weight of your sewing machine, how that would work, but it's worth taking a look. Jan says, how do you control the machine speed? On my Juki, it has a speed control, so it has a little dial with a turtle and a rabbit. Obviously, if you want to sew faster, you crank it up to the rabbit. Some Jukis do not have the speed control, some of the less inexpensive versions, but I just keep mine on the middle speed all the time. Sometimes when Violet sews, we push it down to the turtle speed. Kay says, I need to add grommets to a flap, large ones. Any suggestions on where to get the grommets and the tool to attach them? So I think it's Dritz. Dritz makes curtain, like plastic metal looking grommets. They're quite large. I've used it on the soda pop bag before, so they're a good size grommet. If you're looking for smaller grommets, again, you might find some in the upholstery or curtain department. I have grommets for my rivet press and a separate die for those grommets in a few different sizes. So I guess it depends on the size that you're looking for. And again, there's options in both metal or plastic. But like I said, those large ones that I mentioned, those are snap-on, and those I believe are made by Dritz, and you don't need an extra tool because the two pieces just snap together. Karen says, are you doing the exercises we worked on? I actually need to get my exercise balls blown back up. Karen and I think it was last year, we were doing some exercises in person. I was hoping to have Karen to the studio, the new studio, eventually when we had it set up, and then the pandemic happened. So hopefully, Karen, we can, when this all blows over, we can set something up. Karen is, her expertise is in exercise, being healthy, posture. So she definitely got the ball rolling for me in realizing how important posture is at any age, because having proper posture, exercising correctly, standing at your sewing machine or desk correctly, those are all really important to having good health and good posture later in life as well. Elizabeth says, how often do you use the cover stitch machine? So the cover stitch I only use for finishing basically necklines or hems on clothing, occasionally a sleeve. It's basically a nice stitch that is emulated in ready to wear or clothing that you've purchased from the store. So that will create the nice hem with the stitching. If you look at whatever t-shirt or garment you're wearing, generally, unless it's hemmed on the bottom, if you see some nice stitches on the wrong side of the bottom edge of your shirt or top, whatever you're wearing, generally that's done by a cover stitch. So that's what I use the machine. I only use it for that. So it is definitely not a frugal purchase, but I was doing a lot of garment sewing a couple years ago, and I just decided I needed to have it, so I don't know. Dawn says, how is Violet's artistic designs coming? She loves working on digital artwork on her iPad, which is really nice. It's really fun. When the pandemic started, I thought, I hope the kids work on something that they wouldn't have normally had time or the inclination to work on, and she picked up her digital drawing, so she really enjoys doing that. William's been doing more with his video game streaming, so they do start school in a couple weeks. They're a little not too excited about that. They're doing e-learning for this school year, but I guess, you know, we were talking about it yesterday. I said, you know, at least we're here with you. If you get stuck or need help with something or feel nervous, we're here to help you. So we're in this together as a family for sure. Marilyn says, what type of table allows you to stand while sewing? So these are just counter heights. We placed, is it a kitchen counter from IKEA on top of a, what are the cabinets, Danny? Is it a kitchen cabinet?
Yeah, it's an IKEA kitchen cabinet.
Okay, so where I'm sitting right now, these are IKEA kitchen cabinets. I think there's a couple of them together. We have two kitchen counters, you know, side by side. Danny, do you remember the length of the kitchen counters that we got?
96 inches.
They're 96 inches. I think they had a different length as well, but
74 is the short one.
okay, Danny says there's another option for 74 inches long. We have the 96 2x2, so it's a wider table. And for me, I'm 5'2". That allows me to stand at the table while sewing. Linda says, when looking for a machine, did you consider a Bernina? If we're talking about before I got the Juki, I got my Juki in 2013. I decided on the Juki at the time, or maybe even now, the Berninas were just a little bit outside of my budget, and I was mainly sewing bags, occasionally quilt blocks. The Juki is a straight stitch only machine, and so I opted to go with that machine because of what I was sewing. That Janome that I shared in the studio tour, I only purchased that this year, so it's a really new machine to me. I've used it a few times. If I sew, I'm hoping to sew a garment soon. I just feel like it's been so long. I'll definitely be sewing it on either that machine or the serger. And yeah, it's just a fun machine, but definitely not a necessity. It was a splurge, I guess you could say. Cheryl says, what was the model of the Janome? It was the 6700P, again, 6700P. Linda says, love your dress. Is it a pattern? I wish it was a pattern. I recently got this dress from, a few times a year I get this clothing subscription box called Stitch Fix. Stitchfix.com is the website, and I have a stylist that chooses things for me, sends them to me in the mail. I keep what I like, and what I don't like I send back, and I don't pay for the things that I don't like. So this dress came in the box, and it's really awesome because it has maybe somebody can help me. I'm gonna jump up really quick. The back has a really cool scallop, and I was looking before the show to find a sewing pattern that was similar, and maybe I'm just searching incorrectly, but yeah, so that's what the back looks like. I thought it was really cool, the scallop detailing. So if anyone knows of a sewing pattern that is similar to this, let me know, because I would really like to make it in, I would like to have it in different fabrics. Not that I don't love this fabric, but I'd like to make one myself, I think, too. Laura says, do you use any tools that aren't made for sewing that has made your life easier? I do have an awful lot of sewing tools. Danny, can you think of anything off the top of your head that I use that's not specifically made for sewing? I'll have to think about that one. I'm looking around the room and I don't know. I guess because I've reviewed so many tools on Sewcial Sunday, I'm just seeing a landscape of sewing notions. But let me think about that one. I'll have to let you know.
Sewing tools for not sewing. The reverse.
Danny piped up that he has used many of my sewing tools for non-sewing purposes. Scissors. I don't even know why there's a question about my sewing scissors. Last month I bought each of them a pair of Fiskars scissors meant for, like, all-purpose scissors meant for paper. So they each have their own. They're pink and sparkly, so you can't miss them. I put one on each of their desks, both of the kids and Danny, so hopefully it would avert them using my sewing scissors to cut open a box or cut paper out or anything like that. Anyway, I digress about the scissors. Judy says, I work in an ER 12-hour shifts and have been making scrub caps for nurses. Is there an easier way to make my own binding? That is a good question. Off the top of my head, I believe Colette Patterns has a photographic tutorial on a few ways to make binding. I think I might have done one myself, maybe 2 different ways to make binding. Check my YouTube channel. Maybe just type in binding. It's vaguely familiar to me, so I have a feeling I might have done 2 different ways to cut your fabric on the bias for binding, if that's what you're looking for. And thank you for your service as well, working in the ER. Sarah says, what scissors are you using in the Tower Crossbody bag video? They are steel with black handles. Oh, my favorite, my Kai scissors, model number is 7205. I actually have 2 pairs. I think the reason is I thought I lost one last year and I purchased a second, but then I found the one that I lost. So I do have 2. Again, model number is Kai, Kai, 7205. I sometimes get a question about where I get my scissors sharpened because I mentioned on the show I sent my scissors in the mail to get sharpened. The website for scissor sharpening or knife sharpening or whatever you need sharpened is simplysharper.com. They have locations, or at least last time I checked, they had locations in Wisconsin and Texas, so you just choose one. Send your items off in the mail. They send them back. When I got mine back, they sent a Band-Aid because they said, you know, your scissors are going to be so sharp you might need this Band-Aid. So I was very pleased. I think that was a couple years ago I sent those away, but I haven't had to send them back since. Cindy says, would you recommend applying Odi Coat to a finished bag? Oh, that's a great question. I probably would not, just because I'd be concerned about applying it evenly or in, I don't know, I guess crevices or near seams. I do like to apply it when it's just the fabric so that you can let it dry properly. I did iron mine on the wrong side of the fabric after I applied the Odi Coat, and it did dry just because it kind of got a little bit wavy and wrinkly, just because of the Odi Coat is sort of like a gel liquid, and the liquid kind of made it not so flat anymore. So I ironed it after, and then I used it for a project by cutting the pieces out, attaching interfacing, and so on. So I think in the finished bag, if you were applying the Odi Coat, I think there might be the issue of the liquid gel making the bag wrinkly, and I'm not sure how precisely you'd be able to iron the entire bag to get it to look like it did before applying the Odi Coat. So again, with my long answers, but I think I would just stick to applying it to the fabric before you start on your project. Mary Grace says, do you have the super skinny hinge zipper foot for your Juki, and if so, do you like it? I love it. If you have a Juki like mine, you 100% need to have that foot. It's called the Juki hinged zipper foot. It's about 1/8 of an inch wide. I think Sewvac Direct should have it. There's a bunch of sewing machine supply shops online that should have that foot, or if not, they can probably get it for you. Again, as you can see on the screen, it's called the hinged zipper foot. Once I got that foot, I never ever again used the foot that came with the machine. Not that it's all that terrible, but the hinge zipper foot is just amazing. Yeah. Linda says, what's the difference between a serger and a cover stitch? So a serger, if you're making a garment, as you're sewing the pieces together, you can, instead of using your sewing machine, you can use your serger. It creates that nice, it finishes the raw edges of the fabric for you. That's the serger. The cover stitch, for me at least, maybe there's other uses that I'm just not aware of. The cover stitch just finishes the bottom edge of your shirt or top, so in place of a hem, and it can also do a neckline. Are you calling down the questions, Danny? All right, thank you so much for all of your wonderful questions. I hope you enjoyed the studio tour, and I have one last thing for you tonight. I'm giving away, as you know, I review an awful lot of books on Sewcial Sunday throughout the past 3 years. The first 2 years I was doing book reviews, I think every Sunday, so that's a lot of books over time, so I can't keep all of them. Tonight I'm giving away a stack of sewing books, and there's also, I think, a puzzle book in there too, maybe not. No, just a bunch of sewing and quilting books. So we'll be giving this away to one lucky winner, one randomly drawn winner. I'll announce the winner on next Sunday's show. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is answer this question in the comments. What's worth spending more on to get the best? So I'm not sure why this popped into my head when I was writing this question out for my outline today. My first thought was a plumber. I don't know why. It sounds really silly. You'd think my first thought would be a really great sewing machine, but I don't know. I was thinking house-related things. So let me know what would be important to you spending more on. A little bit, maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone, but to be satisfied that you're getting the best that money can buy. So let me know your answer in the comments. I'll be interested to see what some of the replies are. Thank you again for joining me for Sewcial Sunday. I hope you have a great week this week, and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.